Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Astrolegal, where we explore the universe through the lens of law. On July 30, a historic chapter was written in the story of space exploration. India and US joined forces to launch a historic satellite known as the NASA ISRO NISAR satellite. This isn't just a satellite, it is a symbol of global teamwork, then cutting edge technology, and the rules that keep the space safe and fair for everyone. And in today's video, we will be discussing why is it important, what NISAR is, and what all rules from the Earth reach all the way to outer space. NISAR stands for NASA ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar. It's an Earth observing satellite which has been designed to capture all the minute, incredible details, be it day or night, rain or shine. Now you might be wondering, why is this even important? Because with this kind of technology, we can even observe the minute and the incredibly small changes which a human eye cannot see. Now, this can include the shifts on the ground of just a few millimeters, or the slow melting down of the glaciers, and also the subtle soil moisture changes in the farmlands. And unlike the normal cameras, which are only visible in light, NISAR uses two radar systems. The first one is the L band radar by NASA, and the second one is the S band radar by India. So, together, they make NISAR a climate detective, which helps the scientists and governments to monitor earthquakes, glacier melting, deforestation, urban land sinking, and even agricultural health. Space is not free for all, in the sense that every satellite in orbit comes with legal responsibility. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty states that each country is internationally responsible for what it launches or causes to be launched. The 1972 Liability Convention states that if a space object causes damage to anything either on Earth or in space, then you must pay for it. So now you can imagine that your car rolls over someone else's parked vehicle. Although it was not you driving and it was your friend, but legally you will still be liable because you were the legal owner of the vehicle. Now with NISAR, India launched from its territory the GSLV MK II rocket. This makes India the launching state in legal terms. So now, if NISAR collides with another satellite in the orbit, then India could be held liable. And if, for example, some debris from NISAR falls on Earth and damages property or injures people, then India could be held liable. But here's the twist. So NISAR is jointly built by NASA and ISRO. So although India bears primary liability, the bilateral agreements between US and India will decide how the risk is shared. These agreements are not public, but they include topics like how the damages would be split if something went wrong, insurance requirements, and even the procedures to avoid legal disputes. Every space object must be registered with the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs, and this is under the 1976 Registration Agreement. So, when you register a satellite, you're not just telling everyone, hey, it's my object or it's my satellite, but rather you're claiming for legal jurisdiction and control over it. So now you can understand that when you go and register your house with the government, it's not some paperwork, but it tells you that okay, you own the property and also gives you the right to set rules and regulations for that house. So it's the same for NISAR. So for NISAR, India as a launching state has registered the satellite NISAR with UN, and it means that it has the legal jurisdiction and control over how NISAR operates and how it is managed. However, because this is a joint mission, NASA also has a big say on it. So, how is all this managed then? So there are memorandum of understanding between US and India, for example, NASA and ISRO. And then there are various agreements which also talk about the decision making power, dispute resolution mechanism, and many other technical terms. So now, in simple language, India is the owner of this satellite, but legally, NASA is also the co owner or the co manager of this and also tells how NISAR operates. NISAR is like a superpowered camera taking detailed pictures of the Earth using its radar. And these can be helpful for the scientists, businesses, and even the governments. But it can also have sensitive data. Now you can understand that as like you install a CCTV in your neighborhood, but it is for you to decide whether it will have access to everyone or will it just be for you. So for NISAR, NASA follows an open data policy where most of the images and information is available freely for the researchers to use. But India follows India's remote sensing data policy. So it restricts the high resolution images and does not give access for everyone. And this raises various legal questions like will NISAR data be public or will high resolution images be restricted or can private companies buy or use the data or can other countries even request access to it? So basically this is called data sovereignty where each country has the right to decide of how the data for its territory is shared and used. NISA's technology is advanced, especially NASA's L-band radar, and sharing such technology is not so simple between the nations. So the US has strict ITAR policies or ITAR laws which control the export of sensitive technology even for peaceful projects. Now you can imagine that Coca-Cola lets you make their drink in your factory but does not give their secret recipe. So, similarly, you can use their machines, but you cannot copy it. In the same way, to work together on NISAR, NASA and ISRO signed technology transfer agreements that say that what technology can be openly shared, or what stays confidential, and how new inventions made during the projects are credited and legally protected. So, this ensures that the mission works smoothly and efficiently without one side accidentally handling over military use or commercially sensitive technology. Space debris, old satellites, and rocket parts are becoming a major issue in the orbit at the moment. Even a small piece of metal at orbital speed can destroy a working satellite. The UN COPUS, which stands for United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, has voluntary guidelines for sustainable space activities, which includes removing satellites from orbits at the end of their life or moving them to a graveyard orbit if they're too far away to bring down safely. So now you can understand this as an example. So you go to a park for a picnic, and once the picnic is done, you clean it up although no one's forced you to do it, but it's out of courtesy and it is expected for you to do to keep the park safe for others. So, similarly for NISAR, NASA and ISRO have likely planned a controlled deorbit after the mission ends, or they've planned to move NISAR to a safe graveyard orbit so that it does not collide with other satellites. And by this, it will prevent NISAR from becoming a dangerous piece of space junk. While NISAR is a government led mission, but its data could be worth millions to industries like insurance, urban planning, and even agriculture. But the laws will decide how private companies can use the data. So, the privacy policy to ensure no sensitive personal information is revealed, or national security rules to prevent exposure of strategic locations, or commercial licensing rules for companies that want to sell value added services using NISAR's data. Now, in simple language, you can think of it like Google Maps. The raw satellite images are collected by governments or companies, but private businesses can build apps on top of that as long as they follow the rules. NISAR is now more than a satellite. It's like a real life example of how international law works in space. It's about the shared responsibility, technology protection, and keeping space clean. Here at Astrolegal, we'll keep following NISAR's journey and get more topics for you where space meets law. If you found this breakdown useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more cosmic legal insights.